Good afternoon. I'm Niu Hui, analyst from Fenwei. Now I would like to take you through the review and forecast of 2021 thermal coal market. This presentation has three parts. First of all, thermal coal price changes in 2021, thermal coal supply and demand analysis in 2021, and the future market outlook. In 2020, the thermal coal prices have changed in a historical way. Before mid-October, the coal price has been increasing strongly. After the mid-October, the price started to slump. Now, let's look at the coal prices at the coal pit, domestic port, and import. First of all, let's look at the coal mine price. These three places are Shanxi, and Inner Mongolia coal pit price change. From this chart, we can see that in these three production areas, their trends are similar or converge each other. In January, due to the winter season, the industrial demand was strong and the production area price increases fast. And in Shanxi and Shanxi areas, the price increase averaged 19%. If we look at 2019 and 2020, the average price was around 400 yuan. But in January this year, the price increase has exceeded the high points over the past 4 to 5 years, starting from February to early March. And the production increased and supply insurance policies started to take place. And also due to the sluggish demand during Spring Festival, the prices slumped by 35%. Starting from the March to October 19, the prices started to go up strongly. The average increase reached 345%. Around the mid-September, the price increase slowed down, averaging 126%. And also due to the policy regulations and also the loosened October, the prices started to go up. The growth rate reached 98%. After October 19th, relevant authorities started to control prices. Coal pit prices decreased by about 100 yuan, and then due to pandemic and weaker demand, coal stock started to go up, and the price went down by 200 to 300 yuan. And on 27th October, policy continued to tighten, and the 500 calorie pit price reduced to below 1,200 yuan. And then there was the policy limitation policy. The price reduced to below 1,000 yuan. And on 8th November, the price continued to go below 900 yuan for the 500 coal. On November 11th, the policy continued to tighten. The 500 coal price has dipped below 1,000 yuan, and on 8th November, due to the major enterprises started to adjust their prices, and the coal pit price continued to decrease. And also recently, due to the market sentiment for the bullish market, the coal price is expected to go down further a little bit. Now let's look at the price change of ports. Similarly, the price change has a similar trend with the coal pit. In January, when the demand was strong, the coal increased to over 1,000 yuan, and around February, before and after Spring Festival, prices started to go down. Due to several factors, the price has dipped to a record low, about 580 yuan, 70% year on year. And also, starting from March, due to the positive outlook for the macroeconomic performance, the prices started to go up all the way to around 2,500 yuan. After October 19th, due to the continuous policy regulations, the policy started to go from 1,800 to 1,500 and further go down. On October 14th, relevant authorities started to issue policies to accelerate the fulfillment of contracts, and also the major groups purchased the coal at higher prices than expected, so the price went back up for 200 yuan, and the price went up to 1,300 or 400 yuan. And on October 13th, the coal price was then changed to a similar level of the import and about 1,100 yuan. From this week's market performance, the market price slump has slowed down. Before it went down from 1,500 to 1,000, but recently it went down by dozens of yuan, and currently this price has been quite stable and it is within the limitation levels. And also the market expectation transportation cost will continue to weaken, so it is expected that the port price will continue to go down. Now let's look at the process of going up. There have been some fluctuations or went backs. For instance, in May, there was policy regulation pushing the prices go down by about 150 yuan, and then in the early August, for the expectations of a higher production and the policy pressure, the prices went down by 50 yuan. So these two changes were due to the policy pressure, not related to the fundamentals. After September, during the national holiday, especially after September, the prices have been going up very quickly. After national holiday, the production was lower than expected, so the prices started to go up by hundreds of yuan. And the price increased by around 1,000 yuan for a month, almost the total increase of the past half a year. And also, when the port prices go down, it go down faster than the production area. Now let's look at the transportation cost. The green line is the 5,500 coal market price, and the blue line is the Shanxi 5,500 coal transportation cost, and the red line is the Inner Mongolia coal. We can see that from March to August, the green line has been below other two lines, so the traders' enthusiasm for transportation was quite low due to the huge price fluctuations. Now, in September, the green line has been higher than the other two lines. In August, there were profits, but due to the high cost, the transportation cost was also a pressure. For instance, some traders could only afford transporting one or two trains of coals, and also the port resources could not be effectively used. So some traders dare not to stock and transport coal. So as a result, the port resources could not be used efficiently, and also due to price limitation and the new standards, some of the traders were phased out from the market and the activity of the traders became lower. Now let's look at the import coal price. Import coal price has the similar trend as the domestic coal, but it is lagging behind a little bit. Starting from February, the import coal price reduced by 23% after the Spring Festival. The domestic demand continued to weaken, and international demand, especially the India, was strong. So the Indonesian coal price remained quite strong during that period of time, and for the domestic coal price, it decreased by 72%. From mid-February to mid-October, the price has been going up by 308%, and also the international freight rates drove up CIF cost. And for a long time, this international freight rates has driven international coal prices higher than domestic coal prices. And around the June, the market activity became to get stronger, and also the domestic coal price has been going up fast. So the price difference became more obvious, and the import coal had more advantages over domestic coal in terms of price, especially when we consider the port transportation price or cost. After October 21st, due to the huge drop of domestic prices, increased stocks at power plants and the let go of some stranded Australian coal. The prices of the import coal started to go down. And also with the huge drop of domestic prices and the stock issues, as I said, at the power plants, some of the domestic traders had some panic sentiments, and so they started to sell out their coal. In the week of November 4th, domestic prices stabilized and rebounded, and inquiries from power plants increased, and imported coal prices picked up again. And at that time, the domestic importers started to sell their stock instead of buying new products. Replenish their stock. On November 8th, domestic prices started to fall again, and the import market remained weak. According to the bidding situation of the domestic power plants, we can see that the import prices started to have continued to go down. For instance, the prices of the 4,800 coal was 700 yuan. So the prices of the import coal have remained at a lower level, and the importers didn't want to negotiate these coal from faraway places. Now let's look at the market supply demand. This year, there is a huge gap between supply and demand, leading to the rapid increase in coal prices in Chinese market. And the major supply and demand tension was concentrated in Inner Mongolia. From January to September this year, the national total coal production increased 3.7% year on year. From January to February, during the supply insurance period, it increased by 25%. But from March to September, it only increased by 0.4%. From January to September, it increased fast due to some policy factor. And also from January to February, the reopening level of the coal mines reached a low level. That is why from January to February, the increase was high. Since March, the supply insurance policy was ended, and in April, there were some coal mine accidents, so the production inspection started to tighten. And also due to some major events like the national sports events, some of the factories were shut down, so the increase was not very obvious. And also in 2021, the production increase of Shanxi and Inner Mongolia has been higher than 7.2%. In 2021 to September, the Shanxi production has increased by 18% year on year, and Shanxi 3% year on year, and Inner Mongolia also 3% year on year. Shanxi and Shanxi's supply are at a normal level, as we can see that the main supply demand tension comes from Inner Mongolia. From the data of production, transportation, and sales of Fenwei, we can see that the reopening level of Shanxi coal mines reached 100%, so the full capacity load. But Shanxi only 91% and Inner Mongolia only 89%. So we can see that the production increase in Shanxi and Shanxi would be limited. The major source of production increase is in Inner Mongolia. Since the beginning of this year, relevant authorities have issued some favorable policies, but due to the open coal pit, which require approval documents and also some safety and supervision environmental issues, excess production will be criminalized. So the production increase was not very notable. For instance, in Inner Mongolia, the entire increase of production was about 120 million tons a year, and Shanxi, the increase of production about 55 million a year, Shanxi 21.9 million a year. And also there has been a much higher reopening rate in the coal mines of Ordos. And also, since October, the reopening rate has increased a lot. Shanxi increased by 108%, Shanxi 102, Inner Mongolia 108. So during the supply insurance policy period, the Ordos daily output has reached a peak level, about 15% higher than December last year. After December 15th, the output started to go down. Due to pandemic, which affected the transportation, the large trucks carrying coal were limited. And as a result, some of the coal prices were suppressed and some of the coal production units have to reduce their capacity. Here you can see that there has been a difference between production and sales, but after December 15th, the gap has been higher. The production has been much higher than the demand, so which has also resulted in the higher level of stock of coal. And also in December, the National Conference has asked for the better in performance of the national coal plants. And this year, the snow weather has come to China earlier than previous years, which has also affected the production. We have noticed that in China, the supply-demand tension is mainly concentrated in Inner Mongolia. If we look at the coal import, the supply has also been changing. From January to October, the coal import increased by 1.8% year on year, while January to September output was down by 3.6%. Thermal coal import up by 8.6%, with January to August imports down by 0.7% year on year. So in September, there was a big decrease, and in the previous month, the decrease was not very obvious because in last September, the coal import was quite high due to the import ration, but this year, the import ration has not increased. First of all, the price issue, as we know that this year, the global energy supply has been under strain and the global demand has been strong, which suppresses the enthusiasm of procurement. Secondly, Indonesian import coal this year, due to the wet season, the heavy rains, there have been some accidents to the Indonesian coal mines, resulting in problem of shipping and loading, and also the DMO of Indonesia due to the hence supply. So the Indonesia government asked the domestic coal mines to fulfill their long-term contracts. If they fail to fulfill the long-term contracts with domestic end users, they will not be able to export coal. So which has also suppressed the coal import. Let's look at this chart. It is the thermal coal port import volume by country. The three countries are Indonesia, Russia, and Australia. We can see their thermal coal imports. The structural problems are still there. The Australian coal, starting from October, the clearance has been restricted. So there has been a gap left by the absence of Australian coal in the Chinese market. The gap is about 40 to 50 million tons, and the total import volume from Russia was 32 million, but this year, from January to September, about 15 million tons. And in the rest of the year, due to production factors and the price slump, the importers could not buy too much futures of import coal from Russia. So we expect that the price of coal from Russia will not go up a lot. And also, if we look at the South African coal, the import volume is also very small. So we mainly rely on Russia. If we only rely on Russia and South Africa for the high calorie coal, that will not be enough. And also, the low calorie coal from Indonesia has not increased notably as well. Now let's look at the demand side. If we look at the demand side, this year the demand is better than expected. That is also one of the driving forces for higher coal prices. If we look at the power generation, in 2021, power generation increased by 12% compared to 2020, and the thermal power generation up by 13% year on year, hydropower down by 0.3. So we can see that in 2020, hydropower output increased by 4.9%. So last year, hydropower generation was restrained first and then increased. And if we look at the Three Gorges Dam flow rate, in 2021, the hydropower generation was not good enough, decreased by 21% from June to September. And for the rest of the clean power, solar power generation increased by 11%, 29% and 24% year on year, respectively. And that in 2020 increased by 5%, 16%, and 20% year on year, respectively. But as the proportion taken by the clean energy is very low, so it will not support or complement sufficiently the gap left by power, thermal power. And if we look at the total power consumption, the power consumption in primary industry up by 19%, second industry 14%, and tertiary industry 8% year on year. Now let's look at the better than expected demand of coal plants. We can see that due to the impact of cold winter and economic recovery after the epidemic, the daily coal consumption rose sharply and broke through the historic high with a year-on-year increase of 41%. During the Spring Festival holiday in February, the daily consumption decreased by 35% compared with January, reaching the lowest level of the whole year from March to May, boosted by economic recovery of the global economy and a strong domestic growth. The demand for thermal coal was quite strong from June to August. Due to the arrival of the summer season and the vaccination process accelerated, economic growth went up, so the daily consumption peaked about 205 2.05 million tons per day. And in September, due to the control on energy efficiency, the daily consumption dipped a little bit. And also this year, the power plants have been running losses this year. For a good power plant, the cost is 70 to 80,000 yuan per kilowatt hour. So this year, the cost pressure of the power plant is quite high, so their demand is also quite weak. And also due to some policy factors, they are limiting the power consumption by high energy intensive factories and industries. And also there has been some power limitations and restrictions in the northeastern part of China, which has ignited widespread public concern and attention. Starting from October, economic growth slowed and the temperatures dropped, pushing daily consumption back to the off-season levels, down by 12% compared to September. In November, the daily consumption was almost the same as the October level, but year on year, it is still higher, up by 4%. So the demand of the power plant is still strong. So that is also one of the reasons driving up the coal prices this year. Due to the supply and demand gap, the gap is quite huge. So the stock at all ports is at a lower level. We can see that in the upstream, midstream, and downstream, the stock level has been relatively low year on year. For the upstream, the production and coal mines, if we look at their stock level in the first few months, their stock level has been very low. After October, their stock level started to go up, notably. And also, in order to ensure the supply for the power plants, their stock level increased to a certain level. And now let's look at the northern port stock and Yangtze River port stock in the first few months. The stock level was lower compared to the last year, but after October, they started to go up, mainly due to the stock level at the ports in the northern part of China went up notably because recently the long-term contract coal and supply insurance coal, transportation, and also the windy weathers, misty weathers resulted in the higher stock level at ports. And also look at the distribution. The distribution capacity has been reached a full load, about 1.5 million tons per day, or 30 trucks every day. So this distribution level has reached its full potential. And also due to some restrictive measures at the ports for the winter weather, the ports have decided to increase their stock about 3 million tons. So at Huanghua Port, Shenhua has been able to fulfill the long-term coal supply contract and provided this coal to traders. Now let's look at in the 8 coastal provinces from January to October, the stock has been fluctuating, and in February, the stock started to go up passively. From March to June, the stock fluctuated at a lower range, and after June, it went down to a record low. And at the end of September, the stock level started to bounce back. It increased by 1 million tons at the end of September, and in the latter part of October, it continued to go up due to the lower daily consumption and point-to-point production to ensure the supply of coal. And at this point, the stock level is about 15 to 16 days, but it is still low. About 10% lower year on year. So we still need more time to make up for the gap.
接下来我们看第三部分。
Now let's look at the third part, the future market outlook.
从现在的价格来看的话，11月
Based on the current price level from November to January 2020, if the production continue to go up, for instance, in Mongolia, above the 220 to 240, with the higher daily consumption by power plants, the supply and demand will reach a tense balance. And based on the current status of the power plants, the stock level has been going up very fast. If we can maintain this speed, then by December or January 2022, the gap will not be very big. The balance will be basically reached. If there were some extreme weathers resulting in transportation problems and freight issues, there will be some issues. For instance, in November, the prices fluctuated within a lower range. From December to January, when the daily consumption peaked, the prices might go up for a short term, but generally speaking, the prices will be quite weak. After January, around the Spring Festival, due to the much lower daily consumption, the supply is excessive, so the price increase there will be no driving force for price increase. And in 2022, the supply will continue to go up, but the demand growth rate will go down. The supply will exceed demand. In 2021, coal production capacity 4.5 billion. In 2022, we expect 4.7 billion production capacity, 2.6%. And in 2021, thermal coal production capacity 3.4 billion. In 2022, 3.5 billion. On the demand side, due to the construction material industry and cement industry, the demand has been lower. So we expect that in 2022, the growth rate would be 0.5%. And in 2021, the growth rate has been 6%. So next year, the excessive supply will not be as severe as this year. And this year, the 5,500 coal price averaged 1,000 yuan this year. Next year, the price will go down a little bit. Policy guidance. If there will be policy to guide the future price change and the ration control for coal pit, and also 2022, the release of the policies. Second, we need to pay attention to the signing of the long-term contract for 2022. The trade fair will be opened very soon, so how much of the market will be reached by the long-term contracts, and also the power plant's replenishment pace. What is their stock levels in the on-season and off-season? These are the factors we need to pay attention to. That is my price analysis about thermal coal. And these are the reports written by Fenwei. We have the CCI Index Daily Report. This report will collect the prices of the thermal coal, coking coal, and coke on a daily basis to understand the market sentiments. And we will produce the daily market reports and follow up the market performance and the price changes. And we will push this information to our clients. And also we have this China Sxcoal Daily, which will be pushing the information to our clients through the WeChat on a daily basis, including the valuable information on coal market on that day. And also we have some customized reports, for instance, the weekly reports on coal industry and the dynamic monitoring of production and transportation. with a focus on Shanxi, Shanxi, Inner Mongolia, Shandong, Hebei, and other major coking coal and coal production areas, including their production capacity, output, and the opening rate, transportation cost, and logistic cost. We will follow up these information factors. Currently, we have 66 coal mines, and in the future, the scope will be expanded to include 100 coal mines. And we also have the monthly reports and the big data model to forecast the price and also production capacity report, as well as the medium and the long-term market analysis and forecast. If you are interested, you can contact us in the following ways, or you can scan the barcode to follow our WeChat official account. That's all for my interpretation of the thermal coal market. Thank you.